Good evening. Time is really fascinating thing for humankind. In fact, just now I greeted you with a time factor evening. For ancient people also, time was really important element to understand and study. Basically, modern day we recognize with many calendars. Commonly we know today is 9th February, that is Gregorian calendar. Today is Pausha Krishna 13, that is Shalivanshak. Also today is 21st Tapasa. Now you really going crazy. I am taking name Tapasa as a month. That is Vikram Samvat. There are Yugabd, there are many more Samvats in India. Basically, these are the ways and means of measurement of time by various people. Today we are going to take overview of the system as such, how it evolved, how things progressed, how modifications carried out. Basically, Indian calendar is referred as Panchanga. Name itself indicates that it has 5 elements, namely Var, Nakshatra, Tithi, Karan, and Yog. In this lecture, I am not touching to the two parameters Karan and Yog, but I am focusing more on first three parameters Var, Nakshatra, and Tithi. As you all know, that Earth is rotating around itself in an axis which passes from North Pole to South Pole. And this rotation is from west to east. That's why we see sun at the daytime rising from east and going to the west. And at night, stars are rising from east and going towards west. Ancient man recognized this movement. They recognized two parts of the day, that is sunlight time and a starry night time, as Divasa and Ratra. And effectively they called whole as such as a Ahoratra. Now, a day is measured by the ancient man, still they required a smaller divisions of the day. As I started with a greeting line, I say evening. We usually say morning, noon, evening, and night, are the four divisions of the day. On the same lines, a broader two divisions, daytime and nighttime, once happened. After that, ancient people started working towards the measurement of the day. There are various means now we know and understand. Some people will say there are sundials, some people will say there are sand clocks, some people will say there are Ghatika Patra. In instruments lecture, we will learn more about Ghatika Patra and Chaya Shanku and other means of measurement of time. I not go into the details of that, but I just give a reference to some of the measures related to that. Basically, 60 Ghatikas required to complete one particular day. That is, the division of a one complete day is carried out by 60 equal components, equal parts. Each part, if we look towards it as modern day measures, each part will be a part of 24 minutes. Now, 24 minutes is too long time. For any kind of astronomical work, 24 minutes is really a big time. So how they used to measure a smaller section of 24 minutes? You all know that a human body itself keep counting time. For healthy person, he take 15 breaths in a minute. Or a healthy heart beats 60 times a minute. Similarly, if one want to sing a particular song in a tune, he or she will utter number of characters in a given time span. Using this technique, a smaller period can be calculated, and this calculation goes up to, say, 4 by 60 of a second, like a nimish, or something like a truti, even smaller. We recognized how to measure time for a day. After day, we should have something more. This something more comes out of looking towards the sky. Basically, if we observe sky for a period of time, we understand that after sun, there is a big object called as moon in the sky. And the position of a moon keep on changing every day. For example, if we start just after new moon day and observe moon on horizon, western horizon at sunset, the next day moon will appear little bit towards east from its earlier day position. And it keep on moving towards east every day by a same amount of space. angular space. Now this entire span of sky from west to east is about 80 degree, 180 degree. And remaining part is again 180 degree, that is total 360 degree space, which is to be covered by the moon during a period, a specific time period. This specific time period is a lunar month. We call it as one orbit of moon to earth. Technically speaking, it is one orbit plus some more portion, because earth is also moving around sun. So during that 1 month period, sun moved almost 30 degree into its orbit around sun. So naturally, moon required to travel more distance to catch up the sun. There are various ways. From one star, if moon starts, how many days moon will take to reach to the same star again is one revolution of moon around earth. Now in this case, sun is a star. So new moon day to new moon day, if we count, the count will come up something like 29 days. Sometime it will be 28 or sometime it will be 30, 31. But average time will be 29 days. Now in this period, moon will travel 360 plus some odd angle. Now moon required 27 and some portion of a day to complete one rotation around earth. So if we divide 360 by 27.5, we will get a magic figure 13.33 angle 13.33. So moon will travel that much distance every day. Actually, our ancestors used various instruments to measure the angle, actual angle. And they come up that moon travel 12 degrees each day. Later on, we created 27 sections of sky, and each section is labeled as nakshatra. So by observing moon, we come to know that we have moon have to travel one nakshatra per day to reach back to the sun, and it keep on doing that. Now looking to the sun, we understand many things. Like looking to the sun, we understood that sun never stays stationary. Sun keep on moving. Sun rises on east is a true statement, but it is not technically 100% true statement. Sun rises to the exact east only twice a year. Rest of the time, it is either towards the north of the east or towards the south of the east. Now, as per the location on earth, if location is in northern hemisphere, then when sun is towards north, we see or we enjoy summer. When sun is towards south, we enjoy winter. So basically two seasons, summer and winter, happens due to the sun, the motion of the sun. Now, by observing sun every day and measuring its rise position, we realize that sun can travel maximum up to 23.5 degree towards north of the east and 23.5 degree towards the south of the east. And only on two particular days, sun will remain exactly, or sun will rise and set exactly towards east and west. Now, these two particular days are very important. One day occur when sun moves from south to north, and second day happen when sun moves from north to south. So these are the two equinoxes points. And these two equinoxes points, we observe a equal length of the day and night. Rest of the year, we observe either day is a longer than night or night is a longer than day. These seasons are the phenomena of sun, and the seasons are reason for most of the agricultural work and civilizational work. All festivals happens according to the seasons, and to maintain the festivals or to arrange the festivals in appropriate season, we require a good calendar system. So a month is created, and such 12 months it repeats the calendar again. So a year consists of 12 months happens. Now you all will say that this all modern day phenomena I'm talking, how it concerns with our ancient civilization. Indian Panchanga, or people call it as almanac, but Panchanga is practically non-translatable word. We cannot get effect of Panchanga in word almanac. We cannot get effect of word Panchanga in ephemeris. So let me use Panchanga word as it is, as a non-translatable, for further discussion. As I mentioned, that moon's travel is very important. And moon's travel gives us two elements of Panchanga, Nakshatra and Tithi. And third element, Var, which comes out of planets or movers in the sky. If we observe sky for good time, good length of time, maybe year or 2 year, then we easily understand or recognize various stars in the sky, sometime by drawing some artificial invisible lines through stars, making some shapes in the sky, sometime brightness of object, sometime location of object. Once we understand the sky clearly, then more fun begins. Because sometime we see a beautiful, bright, shiny object in evening sky, which is rising up and up every sunset. After some days, it starts following height and disappears, and within some more days reappears on eastern horizon before sunrise. What exactly happening? We are looking towards a planet called as Venus. Similar story is with Mercury. And a moon is also a mover which moves. There is a red, deep red planet. Mars is in the sky, which also moves. A biggest planet, Jupiter, is also there in the sky, which also moves. And we can easily recognize the planets not only by its color and shape. Specifically, I added that because with telescopes we can able to see the rings of the Saturn and moons of the Jupiter, but ancient people not able to use that or not understood that. So what they did, they marked the positions and they realize someone is faster than the other one. And they come to a conclusion that Saturn is the slowest one, followed by Jupiter, followed by Mars. These are the three outer planets. Followed by Sun. They treat Sun as a planet, not as a mighty star of our solar system. Then Venus, then Mercury, and finally the fastest one is Moon. So they recognize that and they use these 7 entities to represent one more unit in time calculation called as var, a weekday. Surya Siddhanta typically mentions a verse which says that 4th Dinadhipati, if we arrange planets or movers in the sky from slower moving object to the faster moving object, then the 4th one will become a Dinadhipati. So before going towards a term Dinadhipati, let me go towards a term called as Horadhipati. As earlier I mentioned that we have Ghatikas and total 60 Ghatikas forms one day. Each Ghatika is of 24 minutes. Same if we work reversely, something like 60 units and such 24 divisions will form one day. In modern science, we use 60 minutes equal to 1 hour and such 24 hours is one day. On same lines, if we make a 24 divisions of a day, then each division will be labeled as one hora. So there are 24 horas in a day, and these horas, each hora have a horadipati. Now, why they required a horadipati and why they required a hora? For that, we need to understand an ancient time when people perform rituals, yajnas, and various other programs. They have to perform that particular program or yajna or a ritual at a particular time of a day. So after Ghatika, they created one more element called as Muhurta. And Muhurta consists of 48 minutes. Muhurta consists of 48 minutes. Now, measurement of Muhurta is basically based on transition of sun in the sky by casting shadow of sun and measuring length of the shadow. We can able to understand the Muhurta. Still, a ritual is to be performed at a particular time, particular moment of a day. At that particular moment, which hora is rising. And in rituals, in yajnas, ancient Indians used to invite these mighty gods, they treat them as God, to come and bless the ritual. So to whom one should invite first? The first invitation goes to a horadipati. So every 60 unit period, or in a day 24 horas are there. So each hora got one horadipati. And at the beginning of the day, morning, when sun is rising, whoever the horadipati labeled as dinadipati. Now, if we arrange all movers in a order, slower to faster, then Saturn, followed by Jupiter, followed by Mars, followed by Sun, followed by Venus, followed by Mercury, ends with Moon. Now first hora goes to Saturn, second hora will go to the Jupiter, third one will go to Mars, fourth one will go to Sun, fifth one will go to Venus, sixth one will go to Mercury, and then finally seventh one will go to Moon. Now eighth one incidentally will come back to the Saturn. Now 8 to 14, 14 is again Moon, 15 is again Saturn, 15 to 21, 21 is Moon, 22nd is Saturn, 23rd is Jupiter, 24th is Mars, and 25th, that is the first hora of the day, will come as Sun. That's why Saturday and then Sunday, and so on. Some people say that in Mahabharata we don't have war. That's true. Post 3rd century BC, we started introducing war weekdays. And in Surya Siddhanta, how to calculate a weekday is given. Apart from Surya Siddhanta, there are some more references in contemporary work are related with war available. Now from war, we move to a second entity of Panchanga, that is Nakshatra. Before going to that, let me show you how moon progress in the sky in a month.
Okay, now let us see how moon moves in in one day. So right now, what I have done is you can see sun here, and actually I have turned off the atmosphere, so you can see sun and moon and other stars simultaneously. So what I have done is I have selected date, which is 11th of February 2021, and the time I have selected such that it's a new moon moment. So if you see coordinates of the sun, then you can see here that right ascension of the sun is 21 hour 42 minutes and few seconds, and coordinates of moon, the right ascension is 21 hour 42 minutes and few seconds. So their east west distance is 0, and that's why it is a new moon moment. And you can see nakshatras here. So you can see here Dhanishta. So both sun and moon are in Dhanishta here right now. And now what we can see, or what we can do here is you can just check right ascension and declination of sun and moon. And what I will do here, I will just jump by one day. So right now you can see date is 11th, and I will just click on sun first. So you can see right ascension of sun is 41 hours and 21 hours and 42 minutes, and I will jump by one day, that is 24 hours. So now it's 12 February 2021, and you can see right ascension of sun now is 21 hours and 46 minutes. So it has moved to the east by 4 minutes of RA, and 4 minutes of RA is equal to 1 degree. And now let us check coordinates of moon here. So coordinates of moon here, you can see right ascension of moon is 21 hours and 32 minutes. So from 42, it has become 32. So that means moon has moved by uh, 4 minutes. So you can see here, earlier sun and moon both were in Dhanishta, and now sun has just moved by 1 degree, and moon has moved by 12 degrees, and it has come to Shatabishak, or Shatataraka. And I will just go on changing the day or jump by one day, and you can see the motion of moon. So I'll just go back to 11th. So 11th, you can see that both sun and moon are in Dhanishta. If I go to 12th, then moon has moved to Shatabishak or Shatataraka. Then the next day it has moved to Purva Bhadrapada. Then next day it has moved to Uttara Bhadrapada. The next day it has moved to Revati. So Revati is close here, and so on. So this is how moon moves by 12 degree, or separation between sun and moon increases by 12 degree in one day, and moon moves from one nakshatra to another nakshatra in the period of one day.
As we seen motion of moon into the sky, into the evening sky after new moon, we notice that moon is appearing close to some of the bright stars. As in last lecture, we seen that a path of sun, moon, and planets is a unique one. It's a not a line, but it's a band, which is called as a ecliptic, and they all travel on ecliptic. Some of the bright stars appearing on the ecliptic or in the vicinity of ecliptic. These bright stars are taken for the measurement of moon's motion or moon's movement. These bright star, presently we calculate or we start from a constellation called as a nakshatra called as Ashwini, from Ashwini to Revati. This is a sequence in which moon travels. Some of them are bright one, some of them are exactly on the ecliptic. Someone like Chitra, someone like Magha, someone like Pushya are exactly on the ecliptic. Someone like Jeshtha is also there on the ecliptic. These 27 sections, each of 13 degree and 20 minute, is recognized by a name. That name comes from a name of a star, and that particular star is treated as a yoga tara, whose bhoga and shara are measured and available into the documents like Surya Siddhanta or documents like Aryabhatiya. These constellations are used to position the sun also and the equinoxes also. Because the next segment, a year segment, is defined with that. Now we look some of the prominent stars in stellarium once again, and then we continue.
Okay, so let us see some bright stars in the sky. So what I have done is in the stellarium, I have turned off the ground and turn off the atmosphere as well. And let's start with vernal equinox. So you can see right now two lines. So blue line is of equator, celestial equator, or Vaishuvik Vrutta, and orange line is of ecliptic or Kranti Vrutta or Ionic Vrutta. So these two lines are intersecting at one point, which is called as vernal equinox or Vasanta Sampat Bindu, and that is 0 hour right ascension or 0 Kranti. So, as I said, the first nakshatra after vernal equinox or after Vasanta Sampat Bindu is Uttara Bhadrapada. So you can see here, and how to cross check it. If you just turn on the equatorial grid, then you can see 0 hour line. So this Uttara Bhadrapada is just after vernal equinox. So that can be the first nakshatra. Then you can see here different nakshatras like Revati. Then here is Mesha Rasi. So brightest star is Hamal, etc. Then you can see Bharani, Krutika, Rohini. So these all are nakshatras. And here you can see a few other stars which are other than nakshatras. That is Agni, then Brahmaruday. And here you can see Mruga, and this is Vyad. So the star which is named as Lubdaga is actually Vyad. And here is the planet. Sorry, it's not planet. Then as you go on, here is Pushya. Then this is one of the brightest bright star, that is Magha Nakshatra, or it is Alpha Leonids. So the magnitude you can see here 1.35, that means it is a bright star. The lower the number of magnitude, brighter the star is. And here again the two lines are intersecting, and this is Sharada Sampat, or autumnal equinox. So sun will enter into the southern hemisphere at this point. And here is a Chitra, again one of the bright star. So you can see the magnitude is 0.95, again a bright star here. And this is a Kanya Rashi. Then this is Tua Rashi, and again one bright star here is, the name of star is Jeshtha. So few people think that our ancestors were knowing that this is the biggest star, and that's why they named it as Jeshtha, but that is not really the case. If you see, the magnitude is close to 1, and it is a bright star in this area, or the southern hemisphere, at when this Rashi, that is Vrishchik Rashi, is in the sky, and that's why it is named as Jeshta. It used to be called as Rohini. So Rohini is one more nakshatra which is in northern hemisphere, and this star used to call as Rohini in Vedic period. So few books name it as Rohini, and few books name it as Jeshtha. And then we have Mool nakshatra. Then we have Dhanu Rashi, and here you can see sun is in Makar Rashi right now. So Makar Sankranti was on 14th of January, and on the day of Makar Sankranti, sun enters Makar Rashi. So Rashi, and close to sun there are Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, etc. So these are some of the bright stars.
The next entity of Panchanga is Tithi. Now we know that sun and moon are together on a particular day when both bhog are 0. That particular day is labeled as New Moon Day in English. We used to label it as Amavasya. Now from Amavasya, every day moon's distance is increasing from the sun, and it traveled around 12 degrees in one day and moved to the next nakshatra. So on new moon day, sun and moon both are in one nakshatra, somewhere in one nakshatra, because nakshatra is a space of 13 degree and 20 minutes. So it is possible that in the beginning of the nakshatra, sun and moon are together, or at center of the nakshatra, sun and moon are together, or around the end of the nakshatra, sun and moon are there. Now, if at the end, then by traveling 1 or 2 degrees, moon will move and shift into the second nakshatra. That will not require a complete day. Okay? As well as Amavasya is a day in a calendar or day shown in Panchanga. Technically speaking, it's a instance. After that instance, moon moved towards east, leaving sun behind. Now, sun's nakshatra and moon's nakshatra, till they are same, Amavasya is continued. So, Amavasya starts when moon enters into the nakshatra of sun. Moon enters into the nakshatra of sun, and Amavasya ends when moon leaves nakshatra of sun. Okay? Now, this entire phenomena happening any time of a day. Maybe it happens at night, a transition from earlier nakshatra to sun's nakshatra. Transfer of moon from Revati to Ashwini happens any time of the day. Maybe in the night, maybe in the early morning, maybe in the afternoon. Then that particular Amavasya will start, but day is not labeled as Amavasya. Now, for this, we must understand, we Indians, ancient Indians, starts our day at sunrise. There are various ways people of various parts of the world start of the day is different. Modern day starts at midnight. Islamic calendar's day starts at sunset. And some Greek or Roman calendars have a start of the day at midday. So we have 4 variants available. One variant, Indian variant. Sunrise is a time when new day starts. Midday, Greek Roman civilizational calendars. Sunset is Islamic calendar. And modern Gregorian calendar is midnight. Now, at the sunrise, whatever the constellation or whatever the nakshatra moon is, that nakshatra is taken into account and a complete day is labeled with it. Now, at sunrise, if sun and moon are together in one nakshatra, then the whole day is labeled as Amavasya. Now, I think I am confusing you a lot, because I say Amavasya begins when moon transferred from earlier nakshatra to the nakshatra of sun, Amavasya begins. If Amavasya begins around midday, then the day is not treated as Amavasya. Day is treated as Chaturdashi, or 1 day earlier. Because at the beginning of the day, moon is not in the same nakshatra. Now, beginning of the day nakshatra is important. If at the beginning of the day moon is in the seventh nakshatra from sun, then we have Saptami. If the difference between moon nakshatra and sun nakshatra is 1, then we have Pratipada. Then if it is 2, we have Dvitiya, and so on, Tritiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, Shashti, and so on up to Purnima. Necessarily, there are 27 constellations, there are 27 nakshatras. If sun is in one nakshatra and 14th or 15th nakshatra, if we look, then that will be exactly opposite to the sun. So when sun is setting in the sky, moon is rising. Because moon traveled 12 degrees each day, such 14-15 days. So 14 or 15 multiplied by 12 gives you a figure around 180. So 180 is the opposite. So 180 distance traveled by the moon will land into the 15th nakshatra. That 15th nakshatra, that particular day tithi is called as Purnima. Wherever the moon is there on Purnima, that particular nakshatra name is taken into account for naming the month. Story keep on moving. Moon completes it one rotation around sun, reaches back to 27th nakshatra, but by that time sun moved 2 nakshatras ahead, because sun required, or movement of sun is about 1 degree every day. We have 365 days and 360-degree space. So approximately 1 degree is a movement happening. Now in 30-day span, we have a 30-degree movement. And we know that each nakshatra is 13 degrees and 20 minutes. So 13 twos are 26, 26 40, and some more. So moon, when completes one rotation around Earth, completes one orbit around Earth, it will not reach back to the sun. But sun is moved almost 2 nakshatras ahead, so moon has to catch the sun. So moon required 2 more days, and then sun and moon are together. That's why 27 and half day required to complete one rotation around Earth, one orbit around Earth, is not the duration of a month. Because we treat month is from mighty sun to mighty sun. When sun and moon are together, or when sun and moon are 180 degree apart, whatever convenient you take for the calculation, there are verses available which says both kind of month measures are possible. As I mentioned that this whole calendar making, panchang making is happening because of seasons. We need to follow certain festivals at certain point of time in year, and this periodicity which is happening, we have to predict in advance that when a particular festival will come, or when a particular harvesting of a crop will happen. That's why we prepare the panchang and calendar. In Vedic time, uh, in Rigveda's era, the calendar month is not labeled with moon's position. Calendar's month was mentioned in Taittiriya Samhita.
मधुश्च माधवश्च वासन्तिकावृतु शुक्रश्च शुचिश्च ग्रीष्मावृतु नाभश्च नभस्यश्च वार्षिकावृतु ईशधोर्जश्च शारदावृतु सहश्च सहस्यश्च हैमन्तिवृतु तपश्च तपस्यश्च शैशिरावृतु.
As Madhu, Madhav, and Shukra, Suchi, Nabhas. Same way, present month is Tapas. These are the indicators of Indian seasons. As I mentioned, that worldwide there are only two seasons, summer and winter. There are many more. Depend on the nature. These seasons were labeled. We have in India 6 seasons. So 12 months and 6 seasons, approximately 2 months for each season. And as per the nature of the season, if it is a raining, then we have our names related with rain. If it is winter, if it is cold, then we have names related with cold. If it is harvesting, we have names related with harvesting. These are the names not followed in between. After Vedic period, when people started using calendar system which evolves with moon, and they started using month names as a full moon present nakshatra, then these names were gone behind. These names nowadays we not use. Now we have two different ways of naming the month. One is Amant and other one is Purnimant. One begins or one ends with Amavasya, other one ends with Purnima. These are the two verses from again Taittiriya Samhita.
बह्विंशा पूर्णमासे व्रतमुपैति वत्सौरमाशास्यायाम् अमावास्यया मासान् सम्पाद्याहरुत्सृजन्ति अमावास्यया हि मासान् सम्पश्यन्ति पौर्णमास्या मासान् सम्पाद्या हरुत्सृजन्ति पौर्णमास्या हि मासान् सम्पश्यन्ति.
These verses says one is with Amavasya, one is with Purnima. Apart from these two types of months, we have third type of month called as solar month. Now, as we can observe very easily motion of moon in the sky, we cannot able to observe motion of sun in the sky in same ways. To understand who is background, on which background sun is moving, a lot of evolution is required. In fact, ancient Indians did that, and they recognized that sun is moving on a background. Actually, earth is rotating around sun, and whatever we are looking behind the sun, it is not possible. But we can imagine what objects will be there, what stars will be there behind the sun. Because as sun goes down, some stars will come up. Who is coming up? If we know the measure, if we know the position of that particular star, then we can definitely find out 180 degree apart star on the ecliptic. Something like in month Chitra, Chaitra, full moon is in constellation in nakshatra Chaitra. It is in vicinity of a star called as Chitra. Now we know the measures of Chitra star. If we go and look exactly 180 degree, who is there? We'll find some stars of Revati and some stars of Ashwini. So when moon is there in Chitra nakshatra, a full moon in Chitra nakshatra, at that time sun is in Revati, somewhere in Revati, or max in Ashwini. Same way we can deal with other pairs, 180 degree apart pairs. Now, as one understood, sun is on a background of a particular nakshatra. Understanding this concept is very important, because without understanding that concept, one cannot go ahead. So sun is there in one nakshatra, means background of stars of that particular nakshatra we can observe if we hide sun by any mean. At the time of total solar eclipse, it is possible to see the background, or to calculate the background looking to the 180 degree away stars. Earlier I mentioned about equinoxes days. If you realize the position of sun on the equinoxes days, there are 2 days. One is vernal equinox day, we call it as Vasanta Sampat, and other one is autumn equinoxes days, we call this as a Sharada Sampat. Now, if we know the background stars of sun on that particular day, then we can claim or we can say vernal equinox is in that particular nakshatra. Now, to maintain solar calendar, a motion of sun, with our lunar calendar, which is of 354-55 days, we have a gap of 10 days. Because sun takes 365 days, moon takes 355 days. There is a gap of 10 days. Now, to breach this 10-day gap, we required some kind of mechanism. That mechanism evolves with the introduction of Adhik Mas. Still, this gap is not breached completely. Because as we add a month, we are adding 30 days. We are adding 29, 30 days. And the gap is of 10, 10, 10, sometime 10, 11, 11, 32, 33 days is a gap. So more 3 days are there. So the frequency of Adhik Mas should be set accordingly. Roughly 2 years and 8 to 9 months is the frequency of Adhik Mas. Every 2 year and 8 to 9th month, we have a Adhik Mas. That takes calendar back to the vernal equinox. That matches the calendar with vernal equinox. If we continue this mechanism for 100 years, that means about 30 such cycles of Adhik Masas carried out, then we have something surplus. To counter that surplus, we have a concept called as Kshaya Mas. Surya Siddhanta is a document which describes all the calculations related with Panchanga. Surya Siddhant talks about motion of moon. Surya Siddhanta talks about trailing of precision of equinox. Surya Siddhanta talks about how vernal equinox is moving, how much time it will take to move from one location to another, or in a year span, how much, not degrees, minutes and seconds, but how much Ansha, Kala and Vikalas it will move. Surya Siddhanta document, when it is created, we really don't know. Some of the claims suggests that the document is created by Varaha Mihar. But some other claims suggests that Varaha Mihir compiles these documents. As the things are maukhik, written evidences are not much available. Still, we can backtrack Surya Siddhanta with some of the positional references from it. These positional references talk about Kalagananas. It talk about Krutika di Kalaganana. It talk about Mrugashirsha di Kalaganana. It talk about Vishakha di Kalaganana. So we can look for the particular position of vernal equinox in these constellations, can lead us to the periodicity or period of Surya Siddhanta. Now Surya Siddhanta talk about movement of sun every day. Surya Siddhanta calculates how much degree sun moves in a day. Eventually in a month, how many degrees? And in a year, definitely 360 degrees. This entire space of 360 degree where moon, sun and other planets are moving, that space we divided with nakshatra. That division is a small division of 13 degree. But if we divide by the motion of the sun and with integer numbers division, then we have 12 divisions of 30 days possible, or 31, some number of 31 days to compensate 365. So the division of 30 days happens. And this division of 30 degrees of ecliptic labeled with zodiacs. So when sun is in Ashwini or Bharani, we called it as it is in Aries or Mesha Rashi, and so on. Now necessarily sun will move from one Rashi to another Rashi on a prescribed time. And we have one Indian festival called as Makar Sankranti, dedicated to a transition of sun into Capricorn, Makar Rashi. So commonly we know only one Sankrant, that is Makar Sankrant. We have such 12 Sankrantis. And those 12 Sankrantis are happening around 14, 15, 16, 17 of a month. In all 12 months, we have one Sankrant. From January to December, each month we have one Sankrant. In January, we have Makar Sankrant. In February, we have Kumbha Sankrant. In March, we have Falgun Sankrant. Okay. Then we have Mesha Sankrant, and so on. This transition of sun from one Rashi to another Rashi is again a phenomena of a fraction of second. Before this time, sun will be in this Rashi. After this time, sun will be in the next Rashi. This transition itself make one unit called as a solar month. Some of the Indian calendars follow the solar month. Also, this transition of sun is important for the calculation of Adhika Masa. Now here I stop. Tomorrow we will look into the calculations of Adhik Mas. We will look into the Kshay of Tithi and Vriddhi of Tithi. And also we look towards the motion of other planets like Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn, and how our ancestors find out the times, periodicity of their movement. Thank you.